Hey guys, it's Wavejump here, and welcome back to another video. And today we have another 1.11 command block tutorial. This is an advanced command block tutorial, so it will not be showing up in here or in here. And actually, our current subs is at 229, I believe. Let me double check that number. Yep, we are at 229 subscribers at the recording of this video. And today I'm going to be going over the full comprehensive Tellraw thing. So essentially, I'm going to be going over all the tags you could use, really. And a lot of these will also apply to things like signs and books. So we're going to go over that, but we're going to use Tellraw as our example for most of these, and some of them don't work, so we'll see. The page I'm using to reference this is going to be linked down in the description below, and if it does seem like I'm taking random pauses, that's just because I want to have this be a much more editable video, because usually I just go over everything in a very kind of flowing way, but by having more cuts in there, it means that if I mess something up, I could just redo it. Okay. So, starting with Tellraw, so we're going to go over here into a large GUI scale, and I don't think that actually did anything. But of course, we know that Tellraw, we could just do, tell the texts, and then just have whatever, right? Okay. And then we also know what you can do is you can have square brackets around it, and have multiple of these, right? Text, 2. So if I have, I could have one color green, and then the second one be color red. There you go. You could do something like that. Very, very simple. But there's actually another way to do it. So you could actually do Tellraw at A, and then quote whatever, right? And then you do and then comma, and then 2 curly brackets, and then the same quote text, T, I'm just going to set it to E, or no, I'm going to set it to P, so you don't have any T in the previous string. And then you could do comma quote extra, quote colon, open square brackets, and then some more text, so text. And you'll notice I basically just did a similar thing. I find it much easier, though, to just have the curly and square bracket combination. Alright, so essentially, according to this page, and basically you could have multiple different types of text. So you have text, translate, score, and selector. And I will tell you the two you'll be really using are text and score, but we will go over translate and the selector nevertheless. So translate basically means that you could take text from that own player's Minecraft language file and use it to say things that are built in. Say, for example, I wanted to say video settings. I think I could do... Or actually, let's just go to the to title one. So if I were to go Tellraw a quote translate GUI.to title, and you'll notice that brings the back to title screen thing there. So of course you could do something like that, and depending on what language you're in, it'll change. But I don't ever use that, and I don't think most of you will use that. So we're going to move on here in just a second. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be going over is insertions, and I don't really exactly use this a lot as well, but it is just something that we're going to be using. Okay, so I could do, for example, Tellraw at A, quote, translate, quote, nearest player, and I'm using examples directly from this wiki, so you could always see the exact examples on there, %s, quote, width, so I'm telling it to fill in the %s width, and yeah, it requires this weird syntax, but within these curly brackets I'm going to put quote selector at P and add quotes around these individual parts, and what it'll do is it'll fill in the %s width at P if I did this right, which I most likely didn't. Let me just double check what I did. You know what, let me just copy and paste it and see what I did wrong. There you go. I don't know what I did wrong, but now it's working anyways. So yeah, notice nearest player Wavejump games. Very, very simple. Actually not necessarily very simple, but it's something you can do. So the next thing is what is called score, and this allows you to do things based on objectives. So for example, if I go scoreboard objectives, add test objective, and set it as a dummy. Oh, I already apparently have that existent. Score to players set Wavejump games. Text objective. Ugh, words are difficult. Test objective -1. Okay, so my score's at -1 right now. Now what I could do is I could do Tellraw at A, and I'm going to take the score, so quote score, colon, and then again open curly brackets, and then you're going to select the name of, so like what selector, so we're going to do name, and then we're going to do at P because we want the nearest player, and then we're going to do objective, test, or no, we had it as test objective. There you go. So you notice it said the nearest player's score. And I believe what you could actually do is do something like this. Text the nearest player is, and then I could have something like this. Yep, there you go. So I could tell the nearest player score. I didn't do that any longer because I'm doing it in the chat window, but yeah, in a command block, of course, you could do longer text. Although, actually, one thing you may not know is in 1.11, you could have actually longer chat things. So yeah, you'll notice you could have it take up multiple lines, which is really awesome because previously there was a stupid limit. Okay, so yeah, we just saw there that you could also do Tellraw at a score, and then you're gonna do again the name thing. What we could do actually, or actually I don't think I need that quote there. Quote name, and then we're gonna just put star in there. So that means whatever player it's affecting from that previous at A kind of, and then we're gonna do quote objective, quote colon quote test objective. And you'll notice if I did that right, which I most likely didn't. Let me take a quick look here. Yeah, let me just copy this again, because obviously I'm doing something wrong. So yeah, if I fill it in like this, you'll notice it'll tell each player their individual score. And yeah, so the next part we're moving on to is the selector part. Selector part is very, very simple. I don't think you'll be using it a lot, but you can do it. So I could do Tellraw a quote selector at a type equals player. And that'll basically just tell you every entity with that selector. It's very simple. I'm not going to use it ever probably, but you can use it, of course. Another thing you can do is rather than doing color colon white when you're resetting text, if you have, multiple strings with the whole, this comma that, right? Because what you know is if you set this to green here, this will automatically be green. But you could set the color to reset and it'll automatically set back to white, which is the default color. So yeah. So the next thing we're moving on is to text formatting, and this is something that I rather enjoy. So you could actually, for example, do bold, italics, underline, strike through, and obfuscated text with this. And so I'll go over all that in just a second. Okay, so we're actually grab a command block for this one, because we're going to have a rather long command. Okay. Raw at A, and then we're going to have, let's see, we're going to have bold. Actually, I'm going to do text, colon, quote, and then I'm going to add \n at the end. And what I'm going to do here is just basically copy and, there we go. I'm going to copy and paste this a couple of times. So comma, paste, comma, paste, comma, paste, comma, paste. And I'm going to notice we have 5 of these. Okay, so this one here is going to be bold. By the way, this isn't on the wiki exactly. I'm kind of compiling a bunch of them. Bold, true. So that's all you need to do, really. And then this next one will be italic. And again, you just do comma, quote, italic is true. You could then have, say, underlined, and then comma, quote, underlined equals true. By the way, yeah, of course, sorry if it seems like you need to have watched the previous video for this, but I think even if you haven't watched my beginner tutorial, you should still understand this. Strike through. And again, just strike through equals true. And then last but not least, obfuscated. And actually, I don't know if that's exactly it, but I'll check in a second. So then obfuscated true. So let me just double check that that's about right. There we go. And now you'll notice here, when I run this command, if I did everything correctly, there we go. So bold italic, underline, strike through, and then obfuscated creates this really weird effect where it makes all the text unreadable. And it cycles through random Minecraft letters. Okay. So the next thing is what's called an insertion. And an insertion is a really, really cool thing because you could suggest for a player to do something. So for example, if I were to go, and this only works in Tellraw, by the way, as far as I know. So I could do Tellraw day text, click on me, and then quote insertion, and I'm going to do slash say test. If I did that right, which I didn't. Oh, I did. Okay. Nope, that's I put the quote in the wrong place. Good job, me. Alright. There we go. Now you'll notice it says click on me, and when I shift click on it, for some reason, you'll notice it says in chat now, say test. And what I could do, I think, I'm guessing, and I've never tested it without commands, but I could do something like hello there, and when I click on it now, it recommends me to say hello there. Okay, so next is the click event, and click event is a bit more complicated, but it allows you to do things that you could click on or things that you could hover over. Okay, so an example of a click event is one that would allow you to go to my website. So, 1 second here, if I were to, give me just a second by the way. Okay, so if I were to do this command here, so I'm telling everybody to click, and then what that'll do is it'll open the URL wavejump.us/subcount, and I'm going to actually add .html. And now you notice it'll say click. When I click on it, it'll tell me to open my subcount, which I could tell right now I'm currently at 229. Open file is something that's supposed to open a file up, but we're not going to be using that because it doesn't work with Tellraw. Run command is something that you could use to run a command. So I could do, for example, run command / say test. So yeah, basically what you do in order to do any of these actions is you do you have the checks, and then you do quote click event colon, and then you do this whole open curly bracket, and then quote action, run command or whatever it is, and then quote value, say test. And when you run it, you'll notice this time it says click. When I click on it, it says test. But sometimes this requires op, so you could use the trigger command to overcome this kind of issue, which I'm not going to go over in this video, but if you want to see a video on the trigger command, let me know. Okay, so anyways, yeah, moving on, we have the suggest command, and this works a lot like what we looked at earlier with insertion. So if we were to run this, and this is just copy and paste it again, so we're going again, click event, action suggest command, and now you notice when I click, it'll just straight away put that in chat. And the difference is that with insertion, it'll add it to anything you're currently planning to type, whereas suggest command will just replace everything in your current thing. You could also use one called change page, but that's only for books. And next is the hover event. Now, hover event is one of my favorites as well, because you could go ahead and have things that can be hovered over. So, say for example, I were to run this one from the wiki. You notice when I hover over it, it'll say text, and then under it component. So, what I'm going to do is we're going to take a look at that and figure out exactly how it works, right? Okay, so we have our text called hover, and then we're having a hover event. And we're telling it show text, value, and then we have this crazy long string, which you could put this text in a different way, but essentially its text just says text, and then below it, a component. You don't need to do it that way, but yeah, that's how you do that. There's also show achievement. So, for example, if I were to run this one here, and as you may tell, I'm not going into every one with extreme detail because you can't find this all online. But yeah, for example, I could tell it to give the taking inventory achievement by doing text hover, action, show achievement, value, achievement open inventory. That's a lot more simple, obviously, than the other ones. And if you do an incorrect achievement, so if I did achievement.lol, then it'll tell me invalid statistics / achievement. Another really cool one is the show item one. So you could actually have it, and actually that's an invalid item. But essentially you could say have it show stone in chat. So let me go ahead here and get rid of this lore because we don't need it. Let me see, open twice. Okay, I think this is what we need. There you go. No, I did it wrong. Okay, anyways, if you do it correctly, you could have it actually show you an item in chat. But, you know, I might need to remove this. I'm not sure exactly what it is. But, yeah, anyways, point is, there is a way to show items in chat. You can also do show entity, but I don't know why you need to do either of those. Show items kind of cool on, say, a faction server, but that's a lot easier with plugins. So, yeah. The extra tag is something I think we went over before, but if we didn't, here's kind of the way it works. So it kind of works a lot like the whole, again, the square and curly bracket combination, but instead you just basically have this extra tag and you use that, but of course it's a lot easier to just do it the way with, or at least in my opinion, the way I showed you before. There's all sorts of crazy stuff with formatting. If you want, you know, certain things formatted, certain things not, check out the wiki page if you need to know more about that. But it's super complicated, so I'm not going to deal with that. There's also something called inheritance, and this has to do with getting certain properties from the text before it. But again, complicated. You should not really have to deal with it. Okay. And of course, you could use execute to deal with it. You have the whole run command click event. And yeah, so that's basically Tellraw in a nutshell. It only took me about 18 minutes to record this video. I'll probably try and simplify it down to like less than 15 minutes, but sorry if this video is a bit long. Of course it is advanced command block tutorials, so that would probably be why. Also, I need to clear the weather because it looks really ugly. And there we go. That looks a lot better. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, go ahead and leave a like down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with your friends if you think they would find it helpful. And of course, support me on Patreon if you want to support me making these videos and support my server. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye!